Hey there, boys and girls. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollow Weekly. Nick and George here with another Mindage of the Gappage.
Yes.
This one is pretty crazy. This one is first one-time director, right?
Yeah, so what the thing that these two movies have in common is, besides the deeper things that we're going to dig out, is that they're both, it's directors who have only made one horror movie thus far.
Yeah, and we know that It Follows dude has one coming up, but as of this recording...
So the movies are It Follows and Disturbia. Disturbia is DJ Caruso, who's only done Disturbia as a horror movie. He's done lots of episodes, TV episodes of like The Shield and Dark Fury and Dark Angel, whatever. And then It Follows, he hasn't done another movie yet. He had one movie before it that was not a horror movie.
I know he's got another one coming out, and I think he said it's not horror.
Right.
And everyone's kind of like, well, all right. That's fine.
I mean, that's fine. But it makes him a one-time horror director for our category.
Yeah, so it fits.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's not like we didn't pick like The Witch or something because we know that he's got a horror coming down the pipe. We just don't know what this guy's going to do yet.
Yeah. It's a wild card.
Yes.
Wild card.
But I'm excited about this episode because we have spent years as a horror podcast and show sort of fighting in incidental ways for the movie Disturbia, like in mentions on Facebook Lives and videos and whatever, but not officially like tackling it. So here we go.
And we put up against It Follows.
we did.
Okay, let's kick off the list. We have at number one,
Direction. Yes. What are you gonna do?
It's pretty tight, dude. Because listen,
yes.
Here's my thing.
Yeah, hit me.
While I want to lean towards Disturbia because I think it had a lot more crazy shit that they had to get right.
Yes.
It follows the direction of it looks pretty simple, feels pretty simple, but it's effective as fuck given the fact that you're constantly looking in the background for someone walking towards the camera. Both things done intentionally. I don't know how to go on this one.
So I thought, and I have a feeling I'm going to be saying this quite a bit during this episode, I thought going into this that I would be voting for Disturbia because I love the movie.
Same thing, because I watched it for the first time a few days ago, and I was like, "There's no way this beats It Follows."
Exactly, but I went back. I had not seen It Follows since the first time it came out, which is going to be an argument I have for another category here coming up. But
cool.
I went back and watched it, and it blew my mind again. Okay, so but there's a very special thing that happens in this movie that I think puts it over the top for direction, which is there's a thing I read about, and I actually love this phrase where it says horror movie directors feel the need to lead. And what they mean by need to lead is that they want you to look where they want you to look, right? So like Hitchcock hijacks your eyes. Like you are not, there is no moment in a Hitchcock movie where he does not know where your eyes are going towards, and he's fucking with it most of the time, right? But in a lot of ways, if you think about like killer POV, like a Halloween, like a John Carpenter thing, you're going down halls, you're following characters, you're doing things, you're being led from place to place to place, right? There are so many 360 pans in It Follows where you're not being led anywhere. He just lets you spin around and discover what you're going to discover. Kind of like finding a video.
I'd argue he's not just letting you spin around.
But it's purposeful. I understand that. But that's the thing is, because he's using a technique that I almost never see in horror movies. And
that is true.
Doing it really, really well. I'm like, Disturbia was really competent, and I think there's a lot of great scenes in it. But I think It Follows was actually groundbreaking. So I'm going to go with...
Well, hold on.
Yes, you can change my
part of the direction though is directing the actors. So you're putting into account where the director's having you look, not how they had their characters to play.
Okay, that's fair. The acting in Disturbia is better, for the most part, right? I think Shia Labeouf is amazing, and I think I can't say her name, Micah Monroe, is also amazing.
Because that's part of the director's job.
I think that's pretty much a draw, to be honest. The more I think about it, like
I can't decide for myself either.
The villain in Disturbia is really good
because getting the performance out of him, was fantastic.
Yeah,
even Trinity is like the mom who's in it just a little bit, and the parole officer.
Yeah, and in the girl, the neighbor that becomes the girlfriend, who I think is great. It's a draw.
See,
it's a draw. No, but it's not a draw in direction. Disturbia would have had to beat It Follows to draw even, right? Because in my head, It Follows is a little bit ahead in terms of camera work and whatnot. So Disturbia had to be a little bit ahead.
I thought the same thing. I thought It Follows. Okay, so you know what? Let's do this because last time we had a bunch of ties. I don't want to do that.
I'm doing It Follows for direction.
I'll say I'll give it to It Follows for direction because it was so different, and I don't know. Like the whole time I was watching Disturbia, I was enjoying it. The whole time I was watching It Follows, I was like, I'm watching some director make a really good horror movie. I don't know why.
Well, so I might as well just do this now, right? Because I've seen Disturbia probably 7 times.
Yeah.
Right? I have not seen It Follows since I saw it. And I love It Follows, but there's something cold and dead at the heart of It Follows that is just not fun.
Yeah.
And not all horror movies have to be fun, obviously. Like, I mean, I love the shit out of some really dark, grim movies, right? It's not like I'm watching Martyrs for
breakfast
for a good time, right? But like, there's something lifeless inside It Follows, right? And Disturbia is so jammed with life and verve and like whatever, but I'm still giving it to It Follows for this. Yeah. Now, acting is our next category, so we kind of just covered that, where it's sort of a tie, right?
Shia Labeouf's really good. Like, I mean, a lot of people give him crap because of like Transformers and all that. That's mainly it. Oh, and Holes, but Holes was great.
Yeah. Yeah, he was fucking amazing.
Maybe it's just his personal life. Everyone's like, he's weird.
I think he's tremendous. I think he's an underrated actor. I think he was fantastic in Fury, and I think
Fury was so good.
Nailed this role. I think that I told you while we were watching it, when I see Shia LaBeouf, I think he's this guy.
Yeah, I think we're probably around the same age. Like, I was in high school when he was in high school and like grounded like the same, like, you know, Xbox and all that other shit. So I was like, damn, like he does feel like me. Like, that's pretty goddamn good. Right. And I was, you know what? You know how I knew he was good? Because he looked stinky and you can't even smell screen. I was like, because I knew how bad I stank back in that day.
Well, and also, if you think about it, like, I think that his job is a little bit harder because It Follows is very minimalist, right?
Yeah.
So you got to get it right, but you just got to get a couple of the things right and it's going to work. Right, but Disturbia could have been so corny.
And there's very few movies that have like high schoolers in it that feel like high schoolers.
That feel real.
Yeah, because most of the time they cast like 30-year-olds.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah,
to play it.
Totally. Just because of Shia, I'm gonna give it to Disturbia.
For some reason, I thought you said that, and I got it mixed up. I thought you said, because of that, I'm going to give it to It Follows. I'm like, nope. George, that's not right.
No, that's not right.
Actually wrong. And the villain. I think the villain, what's his name?
David Morse.
God.
He's so good.
Dude, I think I had a nightmare about him the night we watched it. Or like he was in like my dream or some shit like that. I don't know if he was
Well, you said a really interesting thing while we were watching it, is that he felt Michael Myers-esque to you. And then I realized that there's a lot of Michael Myers lurking in It Follows. So, again, we found movies that seem super different, but they have a very in common.
Because there's that shot.
Because there's a lot of lurking, David Morse lurking in the background shots where he suddenly appears.
And even that shot when the cop's in his house and he's up against the wall and he's wearing like the blue, jumpsuit.
But remember the sequence where they're following him because they're doing Operation Stupid and breaking into his house or his car to get the remote. And he's actually following them, right? And we're putting this up against It Follows, but it's framed very similar. Like there's a scene towards the end of the movie where Shia is making his way through the house like Rear Window style, and then you see over to the side that he's actually standing there watching Shia move through the house through the window. And it's so Michael Myers-esque, that shot. Like, I love it. But
damn.
I got to give this one.
I love all these crazy coincidences we keep running in with this.
Right. I actually have another tie that's coming up here that's
I'm going to actually die.
No, another connection. Okay, music is our next category. I'm just going to give it to It Follows.
It Follows. Yeah. Disasterpeace is amazing.
Yes.
I can listen to that anytime. I will say the music, not to say the music in Disturbia was bad. It's dated because it's that like late 2000s or mid to late 2000s stuff.
It was good for what it was.
But it gave it its charm. It's just like when you watch like The Faculty.
Yep.
Or
totally.
The Craft.
Totally.
Same shit.
Totally. Or Lost Boys. Right.
Okay, scares.
It Follows.
Yeah, the hallway scene with the tall dude in the back.
And the mother attacking scene, I think, is underrated. Like, I think a lot of horror. This is a very divisive movie, and a lot of horror fans say that it's not horror. And to me, like, one of the things that's really special about horror movies that I don't think gets talked about enough, or at least I dwell on it probably too much, is so horror fans love to judge kills. Like, what's the best kill on Friday the 13th or whatever. But the kill is the way most horror fans like judge kills is the way it looks to you from your eyes, right? So like when Jason's slamming someone against a tree in a sleeping bag, it looks hilarious and sinister and great to your eyes, right? But I think part of the kills is putting yourself in the shoes of the people being killed, right? So now think about this. This character Greg in It Follows is being seduced and attacked by his mom, right? So he's basically getting Freuded to death, right? And the last thing he's going to see is his mom throttling the life out of him, right? Without really knowing why it's happening or what's happening. That is terrifying, right? Like this, the one of the magnificent things to me about It Follows is if you were designing a horror villain, like Michael Myers is interesting. He's a great test case for my theory. So Michael Myers is incredibly scary. I think he's the scariest main villain, right? He's scarier than Jason or whatever to me. But with a huge caveat, right? Like nobody thinks about Michael Myers in July. Nobody in Haddonfield is terrified of Michael Myers while they're doing barbecues on 4th of July, right? They're just terrified of Michael Myers on Halloween, right? So It Follows, even when you beat this goddamn thing, even if, let's say, spoiler, when they shot it in the head at the end of the pool, let's say that it's not gone, right? Let's say that it actually is following them in the last frame of the movie, which could be happening, right? But even if it's not, they'll never know. They're going to have to be looking behind them for this thing for the rest of their lives, never knowing if it's coming back or not. That is terrifying.
I'm going to make Halloween 2.
Yes.
Take place during July. And we're going to come back to this episode and see how you connect.
What's the scariest moment in Disturbia?
It's got to be when he's peeping with the binoculars and Homeboy sees him.
Yep.
Or something towards like the last part of the film in the house.
Yeah, I think the scariest moment, and I don't know why this works so well, but it also worked on me in Sicario, is when you see that he caught on camera the dead person in the wall. Yeah. And it zooms on their face. It's just terrifying. That is
a pretty good scene.
I mean, Disturbia has some actual scares in it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a lightweight movie. But
I think it follows like there's just so much tension because you're constantly looking for someone in the background, and then when they finally do come, sort of like what George Romero talked about, the thing from outer space, and how they're always jiggling the door handles, and it's like jiggle, then finally they like the monster slams through one of the doors. It's that same thing.
Totally, it's the same thing, and it's almost not a fair comparison because Disturbia is a Rear Window remake with its own ideas, and it's more of a adventure thriller by far.
Yeah.
It Follows as a horror movie, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
That's a little bit not of a fair thing, but again, this is not I think Disturbia was a lot scarier, including that rattling opening that you don't expect. Coming into the movie, being marketed as sort of like a comedy. It sort of feels like The Girl Next Door.
Yeah, it's like Shia Labeouf's in this. It's not gonna be that bad.
And then all of a sudden, his parent gets wiped out he
gets double tapped with a car, dude.
I mean, it's a Final Destination-esque at the beginning.
It is
of that movie.
It is.
So it's really good. But all right, humor. I know how this is gonna go.
Definitely,
humor is the next category,
Disturbia,
and we're just gonna.
There's just a lot of, funny friends, funny moments. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Is there any humor in It Follows? Is there even a single funny moment? I don't think there is.
There might be, but
I think it's completely humorless. I think it's a completely humorless movie.
It's got the attitude of a steakhouse.
Oh my God! I wish physical media was still a thing, because that blurb, I would buy that in a heartbeat. I would.
Oh, man.
I would buy that in a heartbeat. That is amazing. All right, influence.
This is interesting.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Go okay, make it interesting.
Yes, it is. Here's what I'm going to say. It follows as original. Duh. Right? You get a different take. You get this new director doing new things. That's influential. But I'll say Disturbia is like a rocket booster for Rear Window.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay. All right, but no.
It's a little cheap. It's cheap. I get it.
No. I like what you're doing, but it's just not.
It feels cheap to me, though.
No,
it's a rocket booster, dude. That's a cheat code. I'll admit it.
No. I actually like that idea. I just don't think it really matches up with the idea of influence because I don't think. Let's be honest. These are both first time movie directors, but I mean not first time, but only time horror directors. But I think no one is clamoring for a Disturbia 2, right? Like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
And it's just not influential because this is not a fair thing because it follows us closer to us in time. But like Disturbia had its moment to be influential and it wasn't. One of the reasons we're fighting for it all the time is it's a pretty forgotten movie.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, that's good. That's
it.
It follows.
All right.
Man, this is not going
the way we thought.
Well, it's funny. You know what? Because when we talked about it, we were hitting up like acting and like scares.
It's the checklist that changed.
The checklist,
right,
dude.
right.
Like influence and like scares.
Well, we'll get to it at the end when we sum
Okay,
up.
writing. This is I think we got some dialogue.
Yeah, let's do it. Writing. You go.
So the dialogue. Okay, so there's two ways to look at this writing.
Yes.
I think there's like story,
Sure.
and then like dialogue.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Story, it follows is interesting because it's different. Rear Window is great.
Right.
But I also think being able to add to it and it makes it even better, or it doesn't dull it, is challenging.
Look at the bane of my podcasting existence, the Poltergeist remake. You can take something and turn it into shit.
Right.
Easily. It happens more often than not. Right?
But to take it and elevate
it, make it fresh, add things to it, like that's not easy.
Yeah. And I remember more of the humor and like the banter between the friends and the girlfriend and definitely the villain than any of the dialogue in It Follows.
Agreed.
Because it's very monotone. It's like a steakhouse.
I fucking hate most of the dialogue in It Follows,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest.
So like for dialogue, so I think I'd give it to Disturbia just because.
So I want to give credit to It Follows for being original.
Yeah.
And I agree with the story being more thought-provoking.
Yeah.
But I'm giving this to Disturbia, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Because I think that Disturbia...
That makes sense, though.
I think that except for the really poor Say Anything moment where he's trying to justify his stalking her and tells her all these things about herself that wins her over, which was terrible.
Fucking weird. Dude.
It was real terrible. I almost want to take it away from Disturbia just because how bad that scene was.
Yeah.
But everything else was really, really
But hey, you remembered it.
Yeah, I did remember it. Everything else was really well executed, right? And I know it's like intangible because like writing is also, it's not just what they're saying, but it's also kind of what they're doing, what you're having the characters do, right?
Yeah.
So like and I think there's a thing. I wish I remember where I saw this because I would credit it, but I don't remember. But there's this moment when Shia gets arrested for the first time, stopping out a flaming dog poop on the porch, and the family that moved in next door, the girl that's going to become his girlfriend. She looks at him and she does what this guy says is in his review. He said she what did he say? Smizing. So she's not smiling, but she's smiling with her eyes, right? So like she's smiling with her eyes at him, smizing, right? So like and I like there's all these little moments in there that are just better than they even have a right to be in a movie like that.
True.
It should have just been a cash grab, but it wasn't. Like it was really well done. Right?
Movie,
All
right.
I'm giving Disturbia a rating. Okay.
So that puts us right now.
Atmosphere is the next category. I'll take this one first. I'm giving it to It Follows easily, and I'll tell you why. Mainly, and this is the thing that I love when it happens in any movie genre, let alone my favorite, which is horror. Dude, there's an It Follows car, right? There's an It Follows kind of day, right? There's an It Follows like beach. Like, think about it.
It follows day.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was walking down the street and there was someone who was just walking the same distance behind me, and it was kind of dark, and it was kind of fallish, and like it was kind of like I saw anything retro, I would feel like I was in It Follows, right? Fangoria did an ad when they were trying to do their subscriptions, and all they did was they had a girl walking down the street and check a mailbox, and everyone knew it was It Follows. Everyone knew it was an It Follows reference. There was nothing in there to signify it was It Follows. They didn't say it was It Follows. It was a girl walking down the street. She came out of the door, walked down the street, and then the camera followed her, and she went to the mailbox. And everyone who saw it was like, "Oh, that's It Follows." There's It Follows shots. Like if you're watching a movie and there's a couple making out in the movie and the camera's hard framed on a beautiful retro car, tell me what's going to pop into your head.
No.
So, because there's no Disturbia car, there's no Disturbia day. The most iconic thing that I can think of from Disturbia is the binoculars, which is a straight rip from Rear Window.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what's a Disturbia kind of day? Gluing Twinkies together?
I mean, I've been there, brother. No, I'm gonna give it to It Follows.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it to It Follows because like that was the scariest thing about the film.
It Follows atmosphere, I thought was. I forgot how just ravishingly beautiful the whole opening. That not just the opening scene, but then also when they get to the car and like just the you know, I mean, I don't even like even the scenes where she's dating Hugh in the beginning, the guy who's going to put her in the wheelchair, like it was just really shot so like I want to visit that place. I don't know. The atmosphere was better to me. Characters.
This one's pretty easy.
Yes.
Since we kind
of the characters in It Follows suck.
Yeah, dude.
They're like loathsome.
Yeah, dude. I
like I forget her name, Yara, the one who reads from the clamshell book thing.
Yeah.
She's cool. And the main character's cool insofar as you know what they give her to do.
The Fonzie dude.
Yeah, but I mean they kind of just sit there.
Yeah, they're just kind of like the kids who smoke cigarettes in high school, and you're just like, I'm gonna go hang out with Shia because he's got Xbox.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the characters is Disturbia. That's easy.
You guys are gonna like listen to Bob Dylan and act like you're 30.
There are some. I mean, there's interesting things that are happening in It Follows, but they're in the realm of ideas. They're not in the realm of the characters, right? Like one of the things, like a lot of people have come to realize that It Follows is less about sex and STDs. And more about fear of adulthood and growing old. That's kind of like even the director has admitted that's more what was in his head when he was making it.
Yeah.
And one of the things, like if you think about it, if it's fear of getting old, right? You got a young girl who's getting forced to sit in an old-timey wheelchair and be told that something is coming for her and she can't avoid it. I mean, that's literally growing old and becoming like unhealthy and infirm and like whatever. Like it's right there in our faces. It's symbolized for us, right? But the characters have nothing to do with it. It's the ideas of the movie that are great. It's who they're happening to is not that important.
Yeah,
right. It could have been any girl.
This is a close one. So for the listeners right now. It is.
Yeah. What's the
4 Disturbia, 5 It Follows
with only 2 categories left. All right, let's do it.
Cinematography. So It Follows had some like pretty cool like 360 shots.
Yes.
And some of the shots, like the wide shots, were really cool.
Yes.
But I feel like there's something like, so it's like an RPG. It's like, okay, I could either pick like someone like, you know, like an elf who has like more magic or some shit, whatever they got, whatever, yes. Or I could go with like the base, you know, like soldier or whatever,
I see what you
and
mean.
I'm more even Steven.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, totally.
And I think I would probably go with Disturbia. And here's why.
Yes.
Because even though it didn't have like the cool 360 shots or like some of those beautiful like landscapey kind of shots like It Follows does, it does a lot more within that time frame. Like it almost like, I don't know why Home Alone keeps coming to my head. It's not shot anything or similar. Well, you know what? It's more like a Danny Boyle film. They try a lot more different things.
Totally, I can see that.
And the fact that they did it and it's not that dated, and it was creative in the way they did it, and especially the shot you talk about where the camera pulls up.
Yep.
And does shit like that.
Yep.
Otherwise, yeah, I think those are probably some of the best shots. This is a hard one. I'm leaning more towards, like, I'm leaning more towards Disturbia, but I know It Follows did some more crazier things.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at right now?
I'm giving it to It Follows. Here's the thing. I agree with you, but I think it just keeps coming back to what I said to you when we finished watching Disturbia, because I was so excited that you liked it, because I've shown it to people who didn't like it. I mean, you had friends you talked to that were like,
I think it's bullshit you've already given it.
Met on it.
Because we didn't talk about any of the colors in the film.
No, it has to be It Follows, but like, here's the thing. This is what I'm telling you. What it comes down to is, remember what I said when we finished watching Disturbia. If I had invested money in a movie and someone told me they were doing a fresh take on Rear Window and they came back with that movie, I would have been like, man, you are so good at your
actually
job.
Said,
yes,
if you were giving the money away freely, because the first time you told me that, I say you'd make a terrible shark.
Yes, that's true.
And you get no investment back. So
that's true. That's totally true. But regardless of the point is that the people who made Disturbia, I'm like, man, you are so good at your job. Good. But like, the cinematography in It Follows is exceptional. That is better than good.
I don't know. Because I don't know. Like, if we break it down into scenes, the scenes where he goes into the car.
Yes.
They shot that very well. The scene with the Silence of the Lambs with the night vision.
All of Disturbia shot well. All of it shot well. It's just not like It Follows.
I feel like,
dude, think about the scene. Think about, if you remember it. Think about the scene when they're on the beach and the Michael Monroe's hair lifts because the invisible creature is lifting the hair behind. I can see that scene in my head. I can see it like a picture. I could sketch it if I had any skill. Right? Disturbia is. I don't know. There's nothing that stands out that clear to me from that.
I like your idea of being able to sketch it. With that, because the only thing I can think of right now is that shot when the first girl dies and It Follows and her legs bent the other way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll give it to It Follows.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's compelling.
Special effects. I don't know how to do this one. You're gonna have to take this, because I don't even know if this even matters for these two movies.
I mean, they're not like.
There's no.
It's not like that crazy of a thing,
right? There's no special effects. There's not even any action sequences. Really, it's really odd. Like that these two movies are.
I mean, like, there are, like, you know, like the hallway scene and It Follows, and but then like there's gotta be some shit that they did in Disturbia that.
But that's the whole point of It Follows is that the monster is like anyone. Like, it's just a normal day. That could be in a normal day, right? So like.
I say we just can't scratch that one out.
Yeah,
that doesn't feel right for these.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't feel
All right,
right.
now, so that's the checklist, but we have a category for just intangibles. So in terms of just all the other things that aren't encompassed in this checklist, is there anything else you want to say about Disturbia or It Follows that you think bears on the argument before we vote?
I think what's funny is we were doing all of these checklists.
Yes.
And I realized some of these boxes weigh a whole hell of a lot more than others.
Right.
Because I know what film I'm going to vote for is one that I just genuinely enjoyed more and thought was better, even though I've given it to it.
Right.
Follows.
Right.
If the story sucks. I can't think of anything else that I would.
Right. Well, that's the thing is, I think you're right.
Because this is crazy.
Because so here's the thing. There are actually some really, really strange connections that these movies have with each other that I think are really interesting. There's a small piece about there's two quick things I want to say about It Follows that I think became like decisive in my head the more I thought about it. So one is there's a concept in horror called the terrible place, right?
Yeah.
So that's what movies usually do, right? So the terrible place in Halloween is the house where Jamie Lee Curtis is. Right, that's where the fight goes down. That's where they're running across the street, bang on the door. The terrible place in Friday the 13th is the camp, right? So the terrible place in The Shining is the Overlook Hotel. Like, a lot of horror movies set up camp somewhere, and that's where the terrible things happen, right?
Yeah.
In It Follows, the terrible place is the person.
Yeah.
Wherever that person is the terrible place, which is a genius.
I got a few friends like that.
Right? I know. It's like Big Ben from fucking Peanuts, right? So, but it's like, it's a genius twist on that terrible place, like, idea, right? And in Disturbia, this guy that they're catching is a serial killer. They actually said that in the news that they dropped about the serial killer is that they found dead bodies in a wall in the last place he was, right? Where this guy goes becomes terrible, right? Like, there's this weird connection between kind of like the how these movies go. But my favorite thing is, and I actually really adore It Follows for this. You know how there's these amazing movies, and I can't spoil it still because it's still too new, but there's amazing movies like Us, Jordan Peele's Us, where when you find out the ending, it changes what you saw before. I'll use Get Out as an example, right? In Get Out, you find out about his girlfriend. And then when you go back and rewatch it, it's all different than you thought it was.
Yeah.
Like, all the shit she was saying and all the scenes, she was saying it with an agenda that you didn't realize was there when you were first watching it, right? In It Follows, the very beginning part where Hugh takes her out on a date and then he takes her to a car and knocks her out with chloroform, and then he's like, I've passed the curse along to you. It's a mini sequence like that. So, like, when you go back and you watch it again, when they're standing in line at the movie theater and they're doing the trade game, and she's like, whose life would you trade, for, like, whatever. He's literally gonna trade lives. He's gonna trade her life for his, right?
Yeah.
So, like, he's saying shit that has meaning that you don't realize has meaning until you realize what's actually happening, and then when you go back, it changes it. But instead of making it the whole movie, like a twist movie, like an M. Night would do, or like Us or Jordan Peele did, this is just a really small slice of the movie, and then a whole bunch of other stuff. It's like a guy had a whole bunch of ideas about horror, and he was like, I'm gonna just do little twists on them in the movie, but he had so many ideas that not any one of them was going to rule the movie, right? It's like, what was the Lord of the Rings? It's like, there's 9 rings, and the one to rule them all. There's no one ring to rule them all, and It Follows, right? Which I
think
really...
it was 7 rings.
Whatever. It's fine.
Right? No, it was probably 9.
I don't know.
Yeah, because like they distributed them very unevenly.
Well, it's an odd number.
Some people got 3.
It's fine, right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But like, you find someone that's missing a hand.
It doesn't matter. It's the one that rules them all that matters anyway. But that's the thing is, like, I think because of that, I think that It Follows just has way more of interest, especially to like the horror genre, than Disturbia, which makes me sad because I wanted Disturbia to win, at least in my head, right?
That's where I was.
But I'm giving Disturbia all the love. I think it is a completely underrated thriller. I wish that director had made more movies in the same line, because I felt like Disturbia was kind of like the slacker Flatliners. Like, I would have connected to it the way I connected to Flatliners. I would have liked to see more coming out of them, but I just can't do it. It has to be It Follows for me. You're gonna vote for
9 men had rings. There was a lot of rings in this book. I had to look it up, dude. Yeah, a lot. Okay.
There's a lot of rings.
A lot of rings.
So
you're giving it to It Follows.
I'm giving it to It Follows, but they're both amazing movies.
I mean,
and it's by a hair. Like, if I was grading these movies, they're both A minuses, right?
I would agree. I give them both A minuses.
Because It Follows. So someone said something really interesting about It Follows real quick. Where not about It Follows, about another movie. They said it about Us, actually. They said it's one of those movies where the more you think about it, the more it falls apart. So just enjoy it for what it is, because if you start really investigating it, it doesn't hold together. There are a lot of flaws in It Follows. I think that the whole opening sequence where there's a moment where the Hugh takes Mike out on a date, and he's like trading lives, and he's like, who you trade lives with? He goes, did you pick the girl in the yellow dress? She's like, what girl in the yellow dress? He's like, wait, you don't see her? And he's like, we get us up, and he's like, get out of here. But he does not in a hurry. He's like holding her hand, and they're kind of like, whatever. I mean, it's the scariest, like, it's a scary creature coming after him, and he's like power walking to his car. I mean, there's just some things that I think the ideas were what the director was interested in, and the execution was a little poor. So it's not a perfect movie, but I think it's a little bit better than Disturbia.
I declare you're wrong.
That's fine. I was looking forward to this.
Even though I gave It Follows more check marks.
What was your count?
It was 5 or 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 6. 4 to 6.
Okay.
So 1. But I think, like, you know, it all starts with writing.
You're right. Some of the boxes are bigger than others.
And, you know, that kind of throws a wrench in it. And it's kind of an unfair wrench because I just thought of it now when I needed it to win.
Well, no. But let's go back to the beginning because we like to do full circle here on Hello Weekly. Let me admit my hypocrisy, right? So let's go back to the root of the problem. I've seen Disturbia 7 times and It Follows twice. And I'm probably not going to watch It Follows again for another 5 years. But if Disturbia came on 2 months from now, and I was in the right mood, I would probably just stick with it, right? So, like, it's more fun, more rewatchable, right? So that counts for a lot.
That's the kind of watcher I am.
Right.
So that's why I would probably go with Disturbia. Plus, Disturbia, like I said, it was a Rear Window layered with the teens from Scream, layered with some of the shots from Halloween.
Yep.
Ending with the Poltergeist. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a big club sandwich with extra bacon.
Hell yes.
That's what I'm all. And
we always record these before dinner, and it's always going to devolve into food metaphors. Yeah, no, I do it. I'm with you.
So I think that's why I'm going to give it to Disturbia. I do want to rewatch It Follows, though. Mm-hmm. Again, this made me really want to rewatch it. Mm-hmm. So I'll probably do that. And who knows?
And I think honestly, if I had to, so here's the thing: if I had to pick out the in a weird way, the most standout thing about It Follows to me is the music. And the most standout thing about Disturbia to me is Shia, right?
Yeah.
And if I was comparing the two, I feel like the music is a little more standout than Shia's performance against the average, right?
Yeah.
You know, like,
I'd agree.
Right? If you're just picking out the one standout, like think about like the Olympics when they do like gymnastics and they score it, right? Like the average is 5, right? But then someone comes along.
That's if you're not paying them anything,
right? Exactly. Someone comes along and gets like a 9.2. So Shia got a 9.2, and then Disasterpeace came on, and then I gave it a 9.7. Right? It's just a little bit more standout. So
how much they pay you?
Well, It Follows only had a budget of $2 million, so it didn't pay me that much, but.
Yeah, compared to Disturbia's.
But I'm sure it made a ton of money. I didn't look up the profit. All right. So, but that means, because it has to be unanimous to actually mind the gap, that this one did not make it, which is our first one. But I'm excited because we knew they were all going to win.
I can't believe it, though.
So
I just kept checking off things for
Well, we actually didn't even say what the ratings were at any point, because I don't think we looked it up. So let me.
We didn't.
Let me just look.
Well, you know, if I had to add while you looked that up, one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thing for Disturbia. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of a little artist called Rihanna?
I have. I have indeed.
Sing me the song from It Follows, George.
I can't.
That's right, you can't.
All right, Disturbia is 70%.
Okay, 70%.
And
It Follows is probably 92.
It Follows is like 94, I believe.
You say 92 or 4? I say 92.
It Follows is.
Give it to me. Lay it on me.
It is, drumroll please, 96.
Damn, we were both wrong. Wow.
I'm actually surprised Disturbia is that high.
Me too.
I remember everyone hating it.
I thought it was like fucking 40.
But that was going to be a 26 gap. That was a long way for Disturbia to jump. So,
yeah.
So I think Disturbia made it to like 93%.
Yeah, I think it did. Damn, that's crazy.
But you guys, let us know what you think. I know that these are like some strange movies to be comparing to each other in this series, but we like to find the interesting angle on what they have in common, right? And then I am also really curious what you guys think about, because I know It Follows is a very divisive movie, and Disturbia is the opposite of divisive. Most of the people I've met who've seen Disturbia, I'm like, do you remember Disturbia? They're like, yeah. I'm like, what you think? They're like, it's fine.
That's what Alex and them said. Right. And then I watched it. I was like, you guys are nuts. This is a great movie.
Let's just do one quick callback. Better than What Lies Beneath?
Definitely.
Yeah. I think so too. Way more fun.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah. And still scary. Right. So
dude, I think that acting even rivals, dare I say it, Harrison Ford, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the thing is, I think that they like, they definitely made the characters more. Like the characters in What Lies Beneath are kind of trapped in the prison of having to represent like wealthy white people problems.
Yeah.
Right. So like the Disturbia. So there's just a thing. There's a thing about Shakespeare that I'm obsessed with, where this one literary critic I like, he said about Shakespeare, his characters are the most rammed full with life. They're characters that would come off the page. And they could come into the room with you and hang out with you and have a beer with you and like, like whatever. And like Disturbia, those characters just jump off the screen. Yeah. Like you would totally hang out with Shia Labeouf's character. You would not hang out with Harrison Ford's character. It would be boring AF.
Oh, dude, he would just stare at me like he hates me the whole time. And I'd hate that.
Right.
Because I would just keep going like, so you were a carpenter? Is that how you started out?
Right.
And you're like, shut up, dude.
Shut up. All right. Fantastic.
That was a fun one.
That is fun. We're looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, let us know if you guys have any ideas for ones.
Yes.
Subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. Stay scary. Watch a bunch of horror movies.
See you next time.
Until then, listen to Rihanna. Bye.
Bye.